What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another Bring the Juice Colts podcast live stream. We're talking Indianapolis Colts football because apparently there's a lot to talk about right now. And
The
I am
sky is
joined.
falling.
Yeah, the sky is falling amongst Colts Nation right now. And, we're all here for the ride. But I'm joined by Tyler, a.k.a. Wildcat. How are you
Hello.
today, my friend?
I'm great. Fantastic. Yeah. Would be better if the Colts were like 7-2 right now and just popping off, and Anthony Richardson was, running for 100 yards a game and throwing 200 yards a game. And but
yeah, yeah, that's very true. And I saw your tweets, and I was just like, I gotta see if he's willing to come on again, because like it was, you basically were the epitome of every other Colts fan out there that was just like, why do we have to keep watching this once again? And we saw another Joe Flacco terrible performance.
Yeah, I think my perspective has changed a little bit since then. Those were definitely like heated, kind of raging in the moment kind of thing. I don't want to watch Joe Flacco. I don't want to watch Joe Flacco play. I don't. I'm tired of seeing old, limited, or just limited quarterbacks in general. That's what we watched all last year with Gardner Minshew. That's what we watched with old Matt Ryan. Like, it's not enjoyable to watch. Even if the production is there and even if they can win some games, it's not fun to watch. It's not fun football to watch. It doesn't give you any hope for the future. It's just not interesting or compelling. But I do think that it's starting to unfold that there's more going on that led to this Joe Flacco starting position than simply just, Anthony Richardson is not good enough. So my perspective in that aspect is changing a little bit.
A little bit. And I'll give you my understanding of what I think is going on behind the scenes. Real quick, guys, though, please be sure to like the stream. Helps the algorithm, helps it get out to more people. Right now. Please like the stream. We want to try to
share it with a Colts fan,
here. Even if they're not Colts fan, they're just fans in general that just want to see Colts fans rage at this team.
Yeah, true.
Because it's funny, Cody and I were talking about this yesterday and even this morning. We're like, we were getting very little engagement with this team when they started winning. But then when all of a sudden now all this controversy is going on and the Colts are losing again, like the views just keep going up. And it's just like, because people are actually interested when you're either really bad or have controversy, or if you're really, really good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, was it going down? I'm like, surely all this controversy, more people are interested in hearing perspectives and learning and figuring out what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, guys, please be sure to like the stream, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff.
Good right now.
I always go back to the same thing. And it's, in my opinion, the reason that there was a benching in the first place was Ballard saying that, hey, clearly this offense is not at a great level right now with Anthony Richardson. And Ballard was thinking, okay, we've seen Joe Flacco a few games before Anthony Richardson came back. We saw Joe Flacco, dicing up a few defenses and, looking like he could pass the ball relatively efficiently. And we're like, oh, okay, maybe we win a couple games with Joe Flacco. And then, like, that's what I'm thinking is Ballard told Steichen, make this move because I'm trying to save my job. Because if Anthony Richardson's out there looking like this all season, and then people are going to come after me and say, you drafted the wrong quarterback and we could have had the better option because half the fan base was telling you Joe Flacco is the answer. Like, Joe Flacco is the one that's going to take this team at least to the playoffs. And, you could at least have a different conversation. At the end, would have at least kept Ballard's case for wanting to or being able to have another year with this organization. At least it gave fans the hope that, Anthony Richardson still has to develop. You were able to get to the playoffs with Joe Flacco. Boom, I'm still safe because Anthony Richardson is, still developing. But now we've seen where we're at now. I mean, what do you think? Do you think this is a Ballard doing here?
I don't know, and I'm gonna surprisingly, as much I do a lot of YouTube, obviously, I'm not that good at like getting all the thoughts I have up here out in words. So bear with me, but I really don't know. I think it's just very complicated and convoluted. I actually don't think it's Ballard. I do think this was Steichen. I really do, and I actually, as we're learning more and I'm hearing him talk and him kind of, what I don't like is how he's tiptoeing around things. I don't think that that's good leadership. I think you should be direct, transparent, even with fans, with the players. There's a lot of like very PR speak and like tiptoeing around things. I think it was Steichen that benched him, and I think it's for the reasons that we've seen a lot of people posting and speculating. And that's the other thing is like not being direct. You lead to a lot of speculation. And Steichen might lose his job because of it, because nobody actually knows what's going on. I think it's what people are saying with Anthony Richardson's possible like on-field, off-field lack of professionalism, immaturity. Maybe he's not preparing the way he's supposed to, or doing certain things, or carrying himself in the way that he's supposed to. I don't know. That's what seems to be, because I just can't fathom a scenario where either Ballard or Steichen just benches him for seemingly no reason, of just like, oh yeah, he's not playing good enough. I just don't think they would do that. I don't think any coach or GM that knows what they're doing, and I do think they know what they're doing. They may not be the best, but I do think they know what they're doing relatively. I just don't. I can't see a valid reason other than they feel like that what was the guy's name? That Lawrence Owen tweet or whatever, where it was they feel he needs to gain maturity and professionalism, and that putting him on the field when he's not mature enough and not professional enough and not doing the things he's supposed to could destroy his mindset long term, and that he'll never actually develop, he'll never actually get better. But my concern is that there's no one there directly telling him this stuff, or like telling him what to do. Like you see the quarterback coach in an interview being like, oh yeah, what things is Anthony Richardson working on? And that dude looked like a deer in the headlights. And I saw people tweeting and being like, oh, he's just not good at interviews or whatever. But it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're being asked a question about your job and something you've been doing for 15 years of experience. You're supposed to be the most knowledgeable person, a top 100 knowledgeable person in the world about this specific topic. And you can't give definitive answers. He's literally just like, oh, he's just working on getting prepared. He's doing all the things. It's like, I don't know. I don't get the vibe that the way I feel like it is the team's readiness to play is like up here, and maybe Anthony Richardson is down here, and no coaches or staff is willing to sacrifice the team overall play to stoop down to his level and teach him the easier things, the simpler things, the things that most NFL quarterbacks come into the league already knowing. You know what I mean? Like Steichen is too busy. He's got to coach the whole team. He can't just every practice can't be centered around Anthony Richardson and him doing things that he needs to do and improving on. That's where the quarterback coach comes in, you would assume, but maybe that guy just sucks. I don't know. It's all mind-blowing. I have no idea, and there's so much speculation, but I don't know. It's very complicated. I do think it was Steichen's decision. I don't think it was Ballard. I don't think Ballard would do it.
I don't know.
Or it was Irsay, but I don't know.
I'd like to I would like to sit here and say I hope it wasn't. Because for me, Steichen to me seems like too smart of a guy to make a decision like this. And then not only to make the decision, but to like triple down on it.
That's why I think there has to be a good reason. That's why I think there has to, because I don't think Steichen's stupid. I don't think he's dumb.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I think he's incredibly good at what he does.
Tripled down on it. It said today we're like, if Steichen doesn't announce either today or tomorrow that Anthony Richardson is the quarterback of this team going into the Jets, we're protesting on 56th Street. And then sure enough, today, before even lunch hour got out, said, nope, Flacco's quarterback. That's it. No questions asked. Like, I mean, he is stonewalled on this decision. There's not even a debate.
Yeah, I think the real problem is just how vague he's being and not really giving an answer. And I don't know if it's to protect himself, if it's to protect Ballard or Irsay, or if it's to protect Anthony. It might be to protect Anthony Richardson himself.
Maybe.
He just doesn't want to come out and just crap on him and how he is, or saying that he's just really not even close to being ready, or he has all these things. But also, like, a little bit of transparency, knowing like, why is he benched? What things does he need to work on? Is there someone in that building helping him do these things and working on it? Because otherwise, there's just no future. There's no plan. Right. I don't know what we're doing, and I just don't. I don't know. I just don't get it. I like Shane, and I really would hate for us to fire him personally. I know a lot of people are calling for it, but I just feel like if Shane left the Colts and went to an organization that was put together with a roster that's ready to go, he will tear it up. Like
Oh yeah,
I just don't.
I think
And I just don't
so.
want to see a guy like that go. And then now we're in an extra level of limbo where it's like, okay, it's full rebuild. We have no clue what's going on in the future. I don't know.
And I mean, to kind of piggyback it, I don't know whether or not it is his decision or not. Um, some of the players that commented, today, like Kenny Moore, Quentin Nelson, and a few of these other guys, like some of the captains of this team have come out in full support of Shane Steichen and saying that they know he's the right man for the job. So, I mean, again, kind of feeds into my point of Ballard being the one to make this decision, because I just don't see that Steichen being so hillstrong on this. I mean, you're right. It would be nice to have transparency as a fan, because at this point, like, fans don't really care about why you made the decision that you did. We kind of just want to understand it now, because I mean, it's because Anthony Richardson, I mean, anything that's already been said about Anthony Richardson it's already out there. Like, I mean, every theory is out there now. Like, the national media torched him on the tap out thing. And, now all these theories about, him not being ready to be a quarterback from a mental standpoint is out there. And, that could very well be true. But I mean, if it's true, and you're right, like, I mean, you've had these conversations, I presume, with Anthony Richardson behind closed doors. If that's indeed the truth, then how's it going to hurt Anthony Richardson if you've already told him this is exactly what we're doing it for?
Yeah, my other theory, or just my other speculation, is that part of the professionalism and maturity thing is that you just can't allow your leader, your quarterback, your top guy to not be doing the professional things that you expect of everyone else in the locker room, and let him continue to start. If he's not, whatever it is, if he's not preparing properly, if he's not actually working on things that he's supposed to work on, he's not doing his homework, he's not in the building as much as he should be, he's not doing this, that, and the other, that it bleeds into other aspects. All of a sudden now everyone else feels like, oh, well, this guy's not doing it. Why should I be here doing it? Like, this guy doesn't care. Why should I care? And like, that leads into like the tap out thing. It's like, okay, well, he just quit on that play. Like, I can't do that, or can I just do that now? Like, I don't think the tap out obviously was like the main thing, but I think like that's part of what you're seeing. I feel like Anthony Richardson thinks that he's got talent and he's just going to show up to the game day and ball out, and it's more of like almost like a basketball level of like preparedness, of just like, oh, we just got to know some basic things, but then on game day I just show up and just instincts take over and I play the way I know how to play or whatever. I don't know.
And but I mean, did you see, I'm presuming you saw the comments that some of the players made yesterday about, like, especially what Kenny Moore said. I mean, like, he said, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, I don't think guys are playing as hard as they are, and I mean, obviously there has to be an understanding of how much at fault the coach is at that, and then also about personal accountability. I mean, these are all adults. Like, they don't need to be given motivational speeches every day to be able to.
But it's also a thing where it's like these guys are going out there and, like, literally putting their bodies on the line and like bashing their brains in against other people. And it's like, if you feel like other people aren't putting in the work and putting in the effort, you're like, well, then why would I do it? It's kind of a trickling effect. It's kind of a parasitic thing that maybe that's potentially part of it. Like, I noticed for sure during one of the last games Anthony Richardson played, like, you could see the receivers getting frustrated, getting aggravated, getting frustrated at both just missing throws or turnover, turning the ball over. The defense has to be frustrated at always being on the field. They're always on the field. Like, how many games we played this year? 10 games. Like, 7 out of the 10 games, the time of possession has been completely flip-flopped, and they've been on the field forever. That's got to drain on you as a defensive player. Like, it's just, I don't know.
No, you're right. And I mean, I think, and Julian Blackmon kind of Julian Blackmon almost let it slip yesterday. He's like, it's hard as a defense to, force turnovers and give everything we have. And, again, throwing shots at the offense, because we know what the problem is with this team. It's not the defense right now. It's the offense. Yeah. And it is shown that whether it's Anthony Richardson or whether it's Joe Flacco, there's no answer here. Like, Joe Flacco could be a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson right now, and likely he is, but still it goes further than just the quarterback problems right now. Yeah, you got guys that are not playing well.
Yeah, I think it's part of that whole, when the offense is, the offense scored points when Anthony Richardson was there, obviously, and there was explosive plays, right? But there was a lot of turnovers. Yep. A lot of drives that just could not get going. Partially, I feel like because of Shane Steichen's play calling. I feel like we should be running the ball 60% of the time that him and Jonathan Taylor are on the field. But that's frustrating for the defense, obviously, when they're on the field all the time. But it's also frustrating for wide receivers. You got to think, they're out there running routes. Half the plays are going to be runs, so they're running the route for no reason. Then of the pass plays, there's 3 other receivers potentially, so it's a 25% chance you even get targeted. And then if that target is off target or, just not even near you or whatever, then that's, they're giving it all 90% of the time to touch the ball 10% of the time. It's that's where that part of the team can get frustrated as well as the defense. I don't know.
Imagine how frustrating it must be for Anthony Richardson on the times where, in that Houston game. I mean, I counted 4 different passes that he made where it was a clear touchdown and his wide receivers screwed him over.
Yeah, but I also think that's part of
dropped one. Tyler Goodson, the very next play, drops a wide open one. And then Alec Pierce caught one in the end zone where Michael Pittman blew up a DB in the end zone for no reason. And that ended up calling it back. And Adonai Mitchell on the first drive of the game, or on the second drive of the game, had it in the end zone. He just didn't get the feet down. And it's and no doubt that clearly when you look at the box score and no doubt that wide receivers definitely are frustrated with the lack of efficiency, but they're not helping this kid at all.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like part of it, so they're not getting, I feel like part of it could be they're just not getting in a rhythm either. If you're not used to having the ball thrown at you, but I don't know. That's the problem is we can speculate about this all day, and in reality, we just don't know. And I literally just don't know what the Colts do from here. I don't want to see Steichen leave. Ballard, I'm not too attached. I think Ballard's better than some people think, but I don't think he's horrible. But yeah, maybe you can go find a better GM. But I don't want to see Steichen gone, personally.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see Richardson given up on either. But I also don't want to see Flacco, maybe at best at this point carry us to a 9-8 record. We have 7 games left. 5 out of those 7 games are against teams of a .300 win rate or worse. Some bad teams coming up. Got the Titans, Jags, Pats, Giants, Jets. All 3-8 or 3-6 or worse.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean,
there's some potential wins there, but
with how the offense looks, I mean, there's only 2 teams on that group that I feel confident we'd even have a chance to win, and that's the Patriots and the Giants. I mean, I don't even know how I'd feel about Tennessee at this point, especially if Mason Rudolph is going to be the quarterback. The Jags, I never have faith in us beating the Jags ever, because Trevor Lawrence and the Jags always destroy us because they know how to beat the defensive scheme that we have. And I mean, Denver's actually good this year. I thought they were going to be bad because I thought Bo Nix was not going to figure it out, but Bo Nix has figured it out and they actually look competent.
So someone in chat say, didn't our defense give up 400 points? They suck too. If you watched that game and you thought the defense sucked, I just don't know what you were watching. That's how our defense operates. We're going to give up a lot of yards. It's a bend but don't break defense. It's frustrating as hell to watch. But at the end of the day, the point is you give up yardage, but don't give up points. You force turnovers and hold them to field goals. That's how the team is designed.
100%.
And they played really well actually last week, considering we turned the ball over 4 times.
Yeah. And actually over the last 4 or 5 weeks now, the Colts are actually 12th best in points allowed per game.
Yeah, everyone's turned their tune on Gus Bradley. He's actually been pretty good lately.
But yeah, I think that one thing you heard from Kenny Moore yesterday was he said year to year, it's the same thing. And I think that's very telling of the direction that the Colts need to head in and what has been the constant over the last, I mean, ever since he's been here. I mean, Kenny Moore's been here since 2019. What has been the consistent part ever since then? And I think that starts with the GM. I think that you draft these players, you spend time with them, you understand who they are and what they bring to the team. And if year in and year out, after several different coaches, your players are saying that every year it's the exact same story, then maybe it's time to figure out, to find a new guy that actually can bring in players that actually will hold players accountable and, start making game-changing plays.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I also see people talking. I just saw someone in chat also mention that Shane should use AR in like short yardage situations and packages. Like, okay, well, he didn't on Sunday. He also didn't give AR any of the garbage time. It's very clear that he's not letting AR on the field for some other reason. It's not just how he's playing. Like, he's not letting him on. It's a punishment in a sense. It's hey, there's things you need to do and get better at before we let you back on the field. It's not just, and he's tiptoeing around that answer. But that's the only logical thing if you assume that Shane is like not a complete idiot, which I don't. But
well, yeah, so he said today, like in those short yardage situations, like I'm not going to go over the scheme and stuff, but yeah, in those situations he could have helped. Like, he clearly sees that Anthony Richardson in certain areas would be better than Joe Flacco, but yet he still refuses to play him, which, like you said, is probably
it's only two scenarios. AR is being held out of the game for a quote punishment reason, or you need to do these things before we let you back on the field, or the order is coming from above. It's Irsay or it's Ballard or someone that won't let him on the field regardless.
Yeah.
I also was mad that JT was on the field when we were down like 20 points with 3 minutes left. That was annoying me. And he's still getting screens and handoffs. I'm like, what are we doing? Get him out of the game.
I don't even think like the play calling wasn't even bad yesterday. It was just the fact that you put yourself behind the 8 ball immediately. And, you could never find a way to recover. I mean, when you throw 2 interceptions to start the game, and one of them was a pick 6, then, it's just not going to work out for you. And especially when you had 2 or 3 other throws in that game that should have also been picked. You were lucky they weren't. It was, again, everyone talks, the completion percentage. Yeah, great. Thanks. When your EPA is a -20, I mean, you obviously the completion percentage isn't doing anything for you. So, I mean, you can do completion percentage all day, but the one thing that Anthony Richardson gave you, or even more than that, we obviously know the explosive plays. I mean, we obviously saw week 1 immediately what some of those explosive plays were. But as you go further down the road here too, the Indianapolis Colts don't run the football well with Joe Flacco. They run the football so much better with Anthony Richardson, not just because Anthony Richardson can run it himself, but defenses have to understand that they have to keep an eye out for that. And that allows their running backs to be able to have bit more consistent runs when he's on the field.
The RPO in general, it's not just, hey, when he sticks that ball towards the running back, he could give it to the running back, he could keep it and run, or he could pull it back and he's dumping somewhere. Like, that was a very big part of their offense that kept defenses guessing a lot. And granted, there was not a lot of consistency when that was our offense, but part of that, I think, was some of the play calling. I think Shane was calling way too many pass plays, especially deep pass plays, which he was either calling them like that or AR just would not stop throwing it 15, 20 yards down the field on first down and second down sometimes. I don't know. I think it's apparent that they see something with AR where he needs to work on off field before he can come back on. My concern now is who is working with him on that. Like, because if no one's working with him, then you've given up. That's what that means. You've given up on him. He will never see the field again because he's just not gonna get better at the things. And I just don't like that when he gets interviewed, he doesn't have an answer of what he's working on. He's just like, he says, being a professional and getting prepared and all this stuff. And then you hear from the quarterback coach, he's like, oh yeah, he's working on being a professional and just all things. He's working on all things. Like, bro, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's just kind of it's kind of boring just to hear the oh, I just have to learn to be a professional. It's just like, I mean, they drafted this kid and they said that he's like the most upstanding young kid that they've ever seen in their lives. Like I get, I mean, AR is still so young, and so clearly he has like that, oh, I'm a troll kind of personality a little bit. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but like, have you seen some of the times where like
when he's on the ground,
he'll be on the ground and stay there for like 3 seconds?
I think it's some of that kind of stuff. Like,
it might.
As funny as that stuff is, he shouldn't be doing that. Like, one of the last times he did it, you literally saw his lineman when he got up. He was like, his lineman was like, bro, what are you doing? You just scared us. Like,
don't scare us.
Should not be doing that. Like, it might be stuff like that, but I just wish someone would come out and say it. I don't understand.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, and I wish that they would. I really do think it might have be stuff like that, because like that's just not something that you do as a quarterback in the NFL.
No.
Like, you might do that in college because that's entertainment and like you're playing amongst other kids and you're just putting on a show. But like, it's not an NFL thing. It's like the grandpa rules that just that goes down through generations that you just don't do.
Yeah, and I just feel like it kind of comes back to that thing that I was saying, where I feel like Anthony Richardson kind of just approaches the games like, oh, it's game time. I got to go out there and ball. It's like, no, this is your life, bro. Like, every day from dawn till dusk, there's things you need to be doing, preparedness that you need to be going. It's not just, yeah, I'm going to go to practice and go through the motions, and then it's game time, and he acts like it's like kind of a fun type of thing, which might be the case. That might be some of that immaturity and unprofessionalism, but yeah, I don't know. I also saw someone in the chat say it's funny how we're a 4-6 team and want to fire everyone. There are teams that are 2-8 and okay with what they have. It's not that. The reason is because there's no future right now. There's no hope. Right. There's no answers. We don't know what's going on. And so it's like, okay, well, what do we do next year? No one has an answer. It's like, okay, well, then we should just fire everyone and start over. Whereas 2-8 teams, you have generally a very clear idea of like, okay, these are the things you need to. Yeah, you're bad. And why are we bad? Well, we know why we're bad. How are we going to fix it when we know what to fix? But with the Colts right now, it's like,
we don't know
what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And in my opinion, the best record I see going forward is 9-8. That's winning 5 out of these next 7 against the 5 bad teams we're playing. And that's that's a crapshoot. And even then, you might not even be in the playoffs. Probably not. And even if you are, who cares? I don't want to see Joe Flacco in the playoffs.
For real.
What is he going to do? What is he going to do against Baltimore? No.
He's going to lose so bad because we saw what he looked like when he played Houston. Like, we saw what happened. And Houston's defense right now, if you were to freaking face Houston right now, I mean, oh my God, they might kill Joe Flacco before halftime's up. So, I mean, yeah, it's bad. And you're right. The direction is the problem. And that's why everyone wanted to start Anthony Richardson to begin with, even through all this problem, was that starting Joe Flacco made absolutely no sense for even the short term or the long term. It didn't matter one way or the other. And did you happen to catch Pat McAfee's show at all today?
I see the clips, and I saw something today. I don't remember. I did watch the clip. I saw a couple clips on Twitter and I did watch them. I don't remember. Jog my memory. I don't remember.
Yeah, he was talking about like, even he's like on the boat of like, get everybody out of there.
Oh,
like,
yeah. I mean, he was like, pay their contracts, get everyone out of here. Yeah. See, I don't want that. I don't want that. There's a lot of promise to this team, I feel. And I also feel like a lot of people think they're like in win now mode. And I've said this from the beginning of the season. I don't think so. I think this is a building year. The team has a lot of young talent that is finally like coming together. Like, you see it with the defense. The defense is getting better as the year goes on. That unit is playing together. Young guys that we were worried about have stepped up and played well, and it's playing as a cohesive unit. We were hoping that would happen with the offense, and now it's just a whole wrench has been thrown into that. So I don't want to blow it up. I like Steichen. I like a lot of the roster. I just don't, I don't know. But I think there's just too much turmoil, too many fans revolting, too much chaos. There's probably going to be something blown up, and I just don't.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny too, because like take with a grain of salt with Pat. I mean, all love for Pat, but 3 weeks ago this man was pounding the table for the Colts to start Joe Flacco because he thought that, the Colts were ready to be that team to take off and, be a playoff team and make some noise. And, we now 2 weeks later and he's like, oh yeah, I was dead wrong. Like I was dead wrong. And now he's saying like, I apologize, Anthony Richardson, for making the tap out thing a bigger deal than what it was. Like, honestly, like everyone knows now, like, yes, it was a terrible look and you'll never live that down. And that was a stupid.
But he's a rookie. He's a rookie. He's 22. He's going to make mistakes. Not all those mistakes are, oops, I threw an interception. Sometimes it's, you do something dumb. You make a dumb mental error. It doesn't even affect the game. And that was one of those things like, bro, you can't do that. And I think he could have shown, past that of like, okay, that's something I can't do. I will make sure that my team knows that I'm fighting 100% of the time, every play, no matter what. And I feel like he showed that most of the time prior to that one instance. It was such a bizarre situation. But,
and he brought up a great point on that. And, we brought up the tap out thing and he said, well, here's the problem is like, it looks like right now that Anthony Richardson is getting no guidance. And
that's my concern.
He said he was doomed by this organization because there is no leadership. He has no one that is giving him the guidance on how to be an NFL quarterback. Like where he's having to figure it out all on his own. I mean, you brought it up. I mean, your tweet, it's the pivot, perfect point. The quarterback's coach, like, who is this guy? Like, I mean,
it's Steichen can't spend all of his time, dumping knowledge and developing AR. He can't. He's a head coach. You just can't do that. There's 52 other players on the team, practice squads. He's got to worry about everybody, every position, all these different things. He can't spend all of his time on AR. Same with the offensive coordinator. He's too busy, designing plays, going through plays, working with every position. The quarterback's coach is the one that needs to be coaching Anthony Richardson and really getting on him. And I don't have any faith in that guy based on that interview that I saw. I don't even know who the hell he is. Who is that? There needs to be someone. And I don't think Joe's mentoring him either. I think Joe maybe gives him some advice here and there.
Yeah.
I don't think Joe gives two craps whether or not Anthony Richardson becomes good or not. Joe is just like, I'm 40 years old. I'm going to get my money and then I'm getting out of this league and I'm retiring.
He said that at the beginning of the year.
Honestly, he doesn't want Anthony Richardson to be terrible. Yeah, he's not going to sabotage him, but he's like, I'm not here to mentor. I'm here to get my paycheck, be the backup. When I go in, I'll be prepared for me. That's what I'm worried about.
Right.
So I feel like there needs to be someone guiding him, and that's my concern is that there's not. And he's either going to disappear into nothing. He's never going to go on another team and develop, or some other team is going to grab AR at some point, actually give that guidance, actually give that that work and that effort into him, and he will actually develop in this. Because if you watch the games, you can see it. Anthony Richardson can get there. The things he's bad at are all teachable, all practicable, all learnable. And the things he's good at cannot be taught. The throws that he can make because of how strong his arms are, the sacks that he breaks, the mobility that he has, the athleticism, throwing D linemen off his back, making plays on the run. He has abilities that you can't teach. And the things that he does wrong, you can teach. And so if someone just gives that effort, but I don't know if it's ever going to happen. Because I think the NFL is too much of a big business, too many jobs protecting, too many people worrying about protecting their own job.
Yeah.
And I just think it's too high level for someone as raw as him to come in and learn on most organizations.
And it's funny too, because the Vikings coach, Kevin O'Connell, I know for a fact has a man crush on Anthony Richardson. I think he wanted that guy in Minnesota more than anything because Brian Flores, his DC, and him, like every other week are talking about Anthony Richardson and, have such high regards for him. And, he brought it up that this is a league that like you specifically just said, they care more about preserving their own jobs rather than taking the time to develop these quarterbacks, because your reputation gets tied down, not just to the development of that, but how the team performs as well. And if, regardless of whether or not you can win games and make your backup, your young quarterback, look bad and still win games, and you're like, then it's the quarterback's fault. That's the reason why the team's so bad because, of that. Well, if you had taken the time to actually, properly develop this guy, then maybe he could have been part of the solution. but we'll never know because you alienated him, and that's pretty much what's happening with Richardson right now.
This is not a situation like Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning where, like, a lot of people would say, like, oh, Peyton Manning, his first year, he was bad or whatever. But now knowing who Peyton Manning is, knowing how he approached the game, you know that he was spending every minute, every hour learning and practicing and teaching himself how to be better at the game. Regardless, I'm sure he had people helping him too, right? But he's just is that type of guy. Andrew Luck, same way. Dude's like a borderline genius, already coming in, already super knowledgeable, learning. He can learn the game himself, prepare, learn, practice. AR is just too raw. He doesn't know. Like, you can still see, just even in his throwing mechanics, he throws off his back foot. He just has these sloppy mechanics and things that it just seems like he's not going to figure out on his own because that's what's comfortable to him. You need someone being like, all right, listen, you need to step up. Even when you're on the run, turn, set your feet. You're running to the left, open your hips to throw. There's these little things that you're not going to learn on your own as easily when you're that raw, just because he's just playing. He's just doing what he's comfortable doing and using his athleticism. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind, though.
It's funny because, I see the graphics all the time, and, the biggest comp for Anthony Richardson right now is Josh Allen. Because Josh Allen's stats are insanely similar to how Anthony Richardson's were when he first started in the NFL. And in some areas, it's actually worse. Do you know in the first 10 games, Josh Allen threw 17 interceptions in his first 10 games? And look at where Josh Allen is now. I mean, he is a bona fide, easy top 5 quarterback in this league. Now, obviously, do I believe at any point that Anthony Richardson will be a top 5 quarterback? I don't know. Maybe not, but I mean, he has all the talent in the world to be a really good quarterback in this league if he figures it out. And I think the problem is right now, nobody knows the best direction to see how he's going to figure it out, because Colts fans think that because Ballard and Steichen said from the very beginning they were going to let this kid develop, and they have gone back on their word so many times. And now it's just in a situation where we're like, you got players calling out decisions that are being made and other guys that aren't putting in all the work and saying that it's the same thing every year. It's just the quarterback carousel that never ends. And
yeah, I mean, if that's the case, right? If that's the case, then I guess at that point you have to put it on Ballard in terms of like, okay, the NFL is just not built to develop quarterbacks like that. It's not set up to bring in a guy that raw and be able to teach him and develop him and have him be good in a few years. It's very win now, just in terms of how the business works. And it's also just there's too many people worrying about their jobs, too much high-level coaching going on to come down to that level to teach someone that needs that much work.
Yeah.
But I think Ballard was kind of in a position where he did the whole quarterback carousel thing and signing all these people in the offseason. Never really got anywhere. Fans got tired of it. So he's like, all right, now we have a position. Let's draft someone. And just unfortunate that where he drafted, that was the best option. Truly. He was, maybe he could have traded, but I don't think, you're not going to get one of the top 2 teams that both want a quarterback out of their spot to trade, to get a quarterback from him. And what's the other option? Was what, Will Levis? Like,
yeah, it was Will Levis at the time.
In the position the Colts were in, that was the best
but
guy
here's
to
my
pick.
thing. Like, with that, the Colts were in the 4th position. The Bears traded back from 1 to Carolina at 9. Carolina gave
Wasn't this
them,
before the draft?
Yeah, that was
I don't remember.
At the end of the season. Yeah, at the end of the season, the Carolina Panthers, I don't remember when it was, but I'm pretty sure it was in February, made that trade to go from 9th overall to the number 1 overall pick because they knew they needed a quarterback, and they were willing to give up what it took. And that was my problem, is that the amount of times that Ballard has had, I mean, the Andrew Luck saga thing is over. Like, it's been 5 years, dude. Like, it's been 5 years, and you have never once figured out the solution to try to replace this guy. You never have. And you got to get it right, and you haven't. And you've had several opportunities. I mean, the 2021 draft, when there was Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, guys like that. Now, obviously, Justin Fields starting to find his own somewhere, and Trevor Lawrence, you were never going to get him. But I mean, even in, like I said, when you drafted Anthony Richardson, you didn't have to draft Anthony Richardson. If you had thrown all your chips into the table, you could have gotten CJ Stroud. You could have gotten him. I said it from the very beginning. CJ Stroud is miles ahead of any quarterback in this draft class, and he's shown you that time and time again. CJ Stroud with a Shane Steichen, and this team is a potential Super Bowl contender with that quarterback. But you didn't do that because, again, you trusted that you could still figure out a way to get whichever quarterback you ended up with, you could get the best out of them. And who knows if Anthony Richardson still is going to be there, but very rarely does a guy get benched and then stay with his own team and become really good after that. It doesn't happen very often. And so I'm worried that the Colts sealed his fate already.
Yeah, and I just don't think the league is set up in a way to help someone as raw as him ever develop. Like it's just clearly there's just a quarterback developmental issue from literally high school all the way up. In high school, kids get by just based on raw talent. All you need is a fast wide receiver that can run by someone and a quarterback with a big arm and then athleticism to run around. That gets him through high school. In college, kind of the same way. Anthony Richardson, he was just big and fast in college. Like he was just running everyone over. And that's why you saw in his first few games in the NFL, him like slowing up and taking hits, thinking, oh yeah, it's just like college. These kids can't do anything to me. I'm so much bigger and stronger. Then he was getting rocked, kind of a wake-up call. And now it's like, yeah, now you're in the NFL and like you didn't get any development in college or high school because you were just bigger and more athletic, and that got you by. And now you're here and it takes a whole nother level. An insane, high school, college, NFL is way up here in terms of preparedness and learning and knowledge and just everything you need to know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
From my perspective, the solution, I guess, is get rid of Ballard. Like I said, I'm not as big of a Ballard hater as most people, but also I haven't paid super close attention the last 5 years. And that's a good point. You've had 5 years now with Andrew Luck gone and haven't figured it out. And so I guess that because I don't want to see Shane go. I do think he has a good reason for why AR is benched. That's not going to make the season any more tolerable to watch or any more fun to watch. And it doesn't mean AR is ever going to see the field again, but that's what I truly believe. I truly believe this was Shane's decision, and he's actually making the right decision based on what he feels and thinks and sees as someone who's actually inside and sees all these things. I don't know. That's my full opinion. There you go.
Yeah. It goes back and forth. I think the majority of Colts Nation is kind of on the Fire Ballard train at this point. I mean, I can't develop any more excuses for him. I just can't. And if he had any say in this quarterback decision, then that just further proves my point because, again, we stowed Ballard's success on Anthony Richardson. If Anthony Richardson doesn't pan out, you need to go because you've had time after time after time to try to fix the quarterback situation. You clearly can't pick the right one. So it's time that we just find somebody that maybe can. And, you know what? Maybe Ballard can somehow convinces Irsay to say, hey, give me one more chance here with Richardson because I still feel like he can develop. But I mean, he is a cocky SOB. And I mean, he said it in training camp, like, I do things the way I do things. And if it gets me fired, then so be it. I mean, that sounds like a guy that is just going to go down with his own ship at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I saw someone say if Shane didn't want AR, then they should not have drafted him, period. I think everyone wanted, well, not everyone, but I think Shane was okay with Anthony Richardson. I think he still is. I just think he's seen enough over the past year and a half, 2 years to be like, okay, this guy is just not doing the things he needs to be doing on and off the field to truly be a leader of a team and give confidence to his guys. Because I truly think it's just like other people are preparing in a way and seeing him not do it, maybe. And it's just you can't allow that to go on in an organization. You can't let Anthony Richardson get away with that because he'll never get better. And you can't let that be the leader of the team because it just becomes a toxic thing where other members of the team start, not doing those things as well and not taking it as serious. That's my perspective. That's what it seems to be. And if that's the case, then it's not a good situation. But I guess it is what it is. It is what it is.
Well, I mean,
very hopeful season and a season with a lot of potential, just kind of down the drain. Really disappointing and sad.
No doubt about that. I mean, it's one thing that I know you and I both can agree on is we would certainly most likely like to see Anthony Richardson out there, even if he was struggling.
He was more fun to watch, regardless of what was happening. I enjoyed watching him more. Every time he dropped back, I was like, dude, is it going to be a bomb? Is it going to be a horrible throw? Is he going to run? Like, it was exciting to watch. It really wasn't that bad. I could live with the ups and downs because they did win games. They did. They won games. Yeah. And, yeah, I don't know.
And, I mean, I've been the defender of Richardson has faced a lot stronger defenses than Flacco has, too, by the way. I mean, obviously, Flacco faced the best defense in the NFL in Tennessee, but his next hardest one was like the 21st best, which Richardson has faced all 5 of his opponents are inside the top 20. Most of them are inside the top 10. So it's again, he's facing some tough stuff.
Yeah. And I wanted to be clear. I'm not saying that from my opinion, I think Anthony Richardson should be benched. I'm just saying I believe and trust Shane is benching him for a legitimate reason. That's not how he plays on the field or whether it actually gives us the best chance to win. That best chance to win can be read into, he talks about Flacco's veteran leadership, best chance to win. That could just be a mindset that having that person with experience, veteran leadership who comes in and does the work in a professional manner, that's a good influence on the team. And that's what he likes more than Anthony Richardson as quarterback. I'm not saying I personally would rather see Anthony Richardson. And I truly do think Anthony Richardson gives us a better chance to win a lot of games than Joe. I think Joe can play well, but he's just as inconsistent as Anthony, except instead of a play-by-play basis, it's a game-by-game basis.
Yeah.
He's literally crapped the bed the last 2 games. But admittedly, earlier in the season, he did have, some 300-yard, 3-touchdown games or whatever? He did have some good games, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're losing either way a lot of times with these guys. You might as well just go with the young guy who, gives you some higher upside in some areas. I mean, that's just me, but all right. Well, I think we can call this one right here. Tyler, thanks again for coming on, man.
No problem. It's fun.
You,
like coming on
time out of your busy schedule.
Like coming on and ranting about the Colts. It's fun. This has been a big part of my life for a long, long time. And admittedly, there was some years in there where I got distracted with the whole YouTube thing and didn't pay as much attention. But it's fun to be back and be in the thick of it. I think a lot of people might see it think I kind of came out of nowhere as a Colts fan or no. I've been a long time fan. It's just I got busy and wasn't paying as close attention there for a while. But now I'm back and I'm loving it. Even though I'm not loving watching the game sometimes recently. But, yeah.
Yeah, believe me, the feeling is mutual. Yeah, the feeling is mutual. Any final words to our friends in the chat and anyone else that might listen to this in Colts Nation?
No, I mean, go Colts, and I'm excited to watch the 40-year-olds battle it out this week. It's going to be incredible. 80 years old combined between the 2 quarterbacks. Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see which one is more terrible than the other.
And I think we know which one is going to be worse. I think.
I don't know.
I hope the one is worse than the other. But
is there a place I can bet on which quarterback I think will perform worse? If there is, I don't know. I think I put my money on Rodgers. To be honest, maybe. I don't know. They're both going to be terrible. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be
going to be a bad game.
It's going to be 13-6
out of Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, it's going to be 16-6 or 13-3 or some terrible game. It's going to be ugly.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Again, leave a like as you leave the stream. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Colts.
Go Colts.